Okay.
Another exercise that I really like is called the 5 sounding points. Now, what are those? Okay, sounding point is a term which talks about how close or far from the bridge your bow travels. Let's say we're going to call this sounding point 1, near, right practically on top of the bridge, right there. 2 is going to be here, and that will produce a loud sound. And 3 is in the middle, which is a very good sound. 4 is closer to the fingerboard. It gets a softer tone. Now, you can't press as hard there. And then 5 is slightly over the fingerboard, which is a very softer, much softer tone. And we don't usually play there, except for special effects. We'll play here or here. And I'll show you what that's about. Okay, first I'll do sounding point number 1. And it's going to sound very scratchy, but it's supposed to for now. So. Usually what you want to avoid, but in this case it's useful. It actually has a name. It's called sul ponticello, which means next to the bridge or on the bridge. And sometimes composers will say play near the bridge. They want that kind of sound. And you have a lot of violins playing it. It has quite an effect. Like, let's say you're going to do something that's kind of a spooky sounding thing. And I was doing something called tremolo, like that. Small, fast notes. But anyway, it's not used very often. But it's good for your bowing because if you're next to the bridge, you know your bow is parallel to the bridge and your bow is straight. Rather, you know that. Can't possibly be like this, otherwise you'd be on this side. So, and anyway, now sounding point 2 is generally how you play loud because closer to the bridge is louder. So if I do this, so if you have a loud piece, you know, it'd be like that. And that was the G string. Actually, G string, you don't often play it number 2 because it's a little raspy. But let's say I'm on the D string. That's where it belongs, G string, and I was here. Okay, back to number 2. Here is loud. So sounding point 2. The exercise is just to play a long bow. I'm just showing you how it can sound in a piece. But now sounding point 3 is right in the middle. I think that's the easiest one to get a good sound with. And you can either press your bow down or you cannot. So let's say I'm not going to press much. Or I'll press more. It still works, but you can get some variation in your sound. Okay, now sounding point 4, you're getting closer to the fingerboard. And you can't press as much, it's just the way it is. So. This is 5. And why would you use 5? Well, there's a term called sul tasto, which means over the fingerboard. And sometimes composers want that kind of sound because they want it to sound softer, especially if you're accompanying somebody and you have afterbeats like you don't want to cover up the melody, and that's one way that you can play softer. And then let's say you want to now play something that will vary. I'll do different places, different sounding points, but you can vary the pressure, so that does count too. But without varying the pressure, listen to this. So I got a little louder just by getting closer to the bridge. Now I'm going to vary the pressure as well. It's just a little louder, a little more color. And of course we talked about bow exercise with a fast, slow. You can do more with that. Combine all of them. See how I faded off? That's another use for sounding point 4 or 5. So that's the sounding points exercise.
Could you just review them real quick? Just
Sure.
at the end
Okay,
there?
so sounding point 1 is right on the bridge. And 2 is here, right, a little farther. Sounding point 3 is in the middle. Sounding point 4. Sounding point 5. So your arm gets used to different places. Also, it's good because let's say you're playing and you're looking at the music, you're not playing by memory at this point in time, and you hear something a little scratchy, your arm's going to automatically go to where it should go if you've done this exercise, because your ear will tell you and it'll translate to your arm.
Do you use your ear to tell you where to put the bow on the sounding points, or do you actually look at it while you play?
Well, I use my ear mostly because I sometimes have to be looking at the music or the conductor, or depending what you're doing. Now, when I'm doing something by memory, then I can look at my bow and see what it's doing. But generally, I depend on my ear a lot rather than looking.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll close my eyes and play, and then you're not looking.
Right,
So,
right.
I think the ear is very important, really listening to what you're doing.
Okay.